Jonathan had seen his share of lost souls in the wilderness. As a seasoned search and rescue officer, he knew the forest held secrets. Some whispered, some screamed, and others never shared. But nothing prepared him for the search for the missing hiker on Whispering Pines Bluff. Mark was an avid outdoorsman who had ventured into the heart of the forest alone many times. He was prepared, and he knew that terrain well. Or so he thought. His last communication, a garbled distress call, had sent shivers down Jonathan's spine. The radio crackled with static, and Mark's voice, barely audible.
Something's watching me. Can't see it. Help. Oh God, help me.
Now Jonathan led the search team, their boots sinking into the damp earth. The forest was dense, the air thick with anticipation. Sonar, the eager search dog, trotted ahead of them, nose to the ground, scenting back and forth, back and forth. His nose twitched and his ears followed, catching the scents that eluded his human counterparts. They followed Mark's trail, a broken branch, a footprint, a shred of clothing. The forest seemed to close in, branches clawing at their faces. Jonathan's flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing twisted roots and moss-covered stones. Mark's fear lingered like an echo that only Sonar could hear, and he aggressively sought it out. Sonar was getting excited, whimpering, and as Jonathan thought how close they must be, movement caught his eye. Mark crouched in a thicket, eyes wide with terror. His clothes were torn. His skin bore scratches from a desperate flight. "Quiet," he hissed. "Don't make a sound." Jonathan knelt beside him. "Mark, what happened?" And Mark's voice trembled. "I saw it. Massive, hairy, eyes black like coal. It's been stalking me. Every time I try to leave, it blocks me, so I hide. But it's close again. I can smell it." Jonathan exchanged glances with his team. What was Mark talking about? Was he really talking about a Bigfoot? The legends whispered of a primal force in these woods, a guardian or a predator, depending on who told the tale. But Jonathan dealt in facts and not folklore, and right now, he needed to get Mark out of there to safety. But then Sonar growled, raised his hackle ears forward. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then came the sound, the unmistakable snap of branches and the call of the unseen. The ground vibrated beneath their boots, and the team instinctually huddled closer, hearts pounding. And there it was, a shadow among shadows. Bigfoot emerged from the underbrush, towering and primal. Its eyes glowed, reflecting in the moonlight. The roar it made echoed through the trees, a guttural warning. Even if some of them believed in such things, no one was prepared for how massive this creature was. Jonathan's mind raced. Survival instincts kicked in, and he signaled to the team to retreat. But Mark clung to his arm. "We can't leave," he whispered. It wants something from me. Maybe revenge from trespassing. I don't know. We can't leave." And Sonar barked, and the creature advanced. Massive fists clenched. Jonathan's pulse thundered, and he remembered the stories. The missing hunters, the vanished campers, the hikers that never came home. Bigfoot was no myth. It was a force of nature that most did not escape once they encountered it. Jonathan made a split-second decision. He grabbed Mark and pushed him to run. The team led, crashing through the thicket. The forest seemed to conspire against them, branches snagging, roots tripping. But adrenaline fueled their flight. And behind them, the creature roared and it shook the trees. Its footsteps closed in like it was floating on air. It seemed to effortlessly move. And Jonathan glimpsed its massive form, fur matted with moss and dirt. He pushed harder, his lungs burning. They burst into a clearing, moonlight bathing their escape. Jonathan risked a glance back. And there it was, Bigfoot, stood at the forest's edge, eyes fixated on them. Some of the team drew their weapons and held them on the tree line. It grunted and made a nude sound, a call. And off in the distance, there was an answer, and another answer, and another answer. It retreated, but Sonar wasn't fooled, and neither was Jonathan. They were just regrouping. He snapped at everyone to keep running, and they did. And they heard sounds all around them. Large rocks were being catapulted in their direction, but the creatures never revealed themselves again. They ran until they saw the parking lot and signs of life. And Jonathan didn't know when the rocks had stopped falling all around them, but they weren't now, and no one was hurt. Mark collapsed. Jonathan removed Mark's day pack and got him some water. Day pack was unusually heavy, and he questioned Mark about it. And Mark just laid there on his back, shaking his head back and forth. So Jonathan opened it and found 3 large oval stones with carvings etched on them. And he thought, I guess Mark really was being hunted for trespassing. And Jonathan walked over to the edge of the trail and placed all 3 stones stacked on one another behind dense brush in hopes they would be accepted back to the land they came from. And Jonathan never forgot that night. The primal fear, the desperate flight. Mark recovered, but he never spoke of what he saw or what he did or what those stones were. The whispering pines held their secrets, and Bigfoot remained a guardian of the wild. And as for Jonathan, he knew some mysteries were best left unsolved, The forest whispered and he listened. He listened for echoes of lost souls, for the grunting of ancient beasts, and in the quiet moments, he wondered if they truly escaped or merely stepped into another dimension of the unknown. Good night. Sleep tight under starry skies till morning light.